A research showed that our brain consumes 34 gigabytes of media every day, which means 238 gigabytes of media consumption in a week and about 1000 GBs in a month. With every passing minute, this number is only increasing, which makes it obvious that a lot of our cognitions are influenced by what we see and hear. Hi everyone, I'm Ira Singh, a junior psychologist at Dr. Shiva Singh's mental health studio called TalkSpace. While observing October as the mental health month, we're trying to raise awareness around the same with the theme making mental health and well-being for all a global priority. We have with us journalist and psychologist Ms. Divya Naik. She writes for Mint Lounge and QuintFit and consults mental health brand on their content. We're privileged to have you here, ma'am. Welcome to the show.
So, ma'am, beginning with the first question, what is the role that the media plays these days in building mental health awareness according to you?
I think the media plays a really, really pivotal and huge role in building awareness about mental health. Media is in itself, a part of our culture, right? It shapes our culture. It shapes, the way information is disseminated to people, and also their perceptions about different issues, including mental health. Whatever people read, the movies they see, articles they read in the newspaper, um, all of it is shaping the way they perceive mental health issues, also the way counseling and therapy happens. All of those perceptions and ideas are shaped by the way media is portraying mental health and therapy. So from that perspective, it plays a massive, massive role, I would say.
Right, right. Following up, what may you think is the responsibility that the media has when it comes to portraying mental health?
So just on the back of what I said, right? When you consider the fact that it is shaping ideas and perceptions of people, that makes media have a great responsibility. Yeah, and that responsibility, according to me, is not, fully taken by the media today. The way a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows, articles about mental health are written, are short, are broadcasted. It's quite inaccurate, to be very fair and to be very honest, right? I mean, take a movie like Dear Zindagi, for instance. There is no therapist who actually practices therapy, the way it was shown in the movie, right? Nobody is going to take you for a walk on the beach while having a session, right? The media has been romanticizing therapy a lot. Yeah, and from that perspective, and just on the underlining that the responsibility that it has, it's not being fully taken on. Yeah.
Right, right. I absolutely agree. Any examples that you want to highlight regarding positive and correct depictions in media that mental health regarding mental health?
I think 15 Park Avenue, it's an old movie, but still it was an honest effort on the way they, portrayed schizophrenia. That was a fair effort. I would also say there are some journalists who are doing some really good work. Tanmay from Sanity, he's doing some really, really good work in this space. And also the articles and, the stories that he had written earlier, and the way, he's stressing upon suicide prevention, that is really, really good. I think also QuintFit, that publication is doing a really good job in terms of the content that they are putting out, in terms of the stories that they are putting out. There are quite a few examples in the print media of journalists and writers who are doing some good work. But besides these few publications, I think there's still a lot of space, and there's still a lot of effort that can be taken by journalists, largely by filmmakers, of doing justice to the way mental health is portrayed in the media. Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree. Similarly, any caveats that the media must keep in mind while covering mental health issues?
Yes, I would say that when it comes to covering mental health issues, the media, first of all, really needs to research, right? I'm not saying that, they need to do a full-fledged bachelor's or master's degree, to understand psychology, and mental health. But the bare minimum they can do is talk to other therapists, right? Like, I gave the example of Dear Zindagi. Similarly, there was one more movie that came out called Atrangi Re. Um, yeah, and the way they portrayed mental health issues, it was very far from what the reality really is, right? Also, another example is A Beautiful Mind. I mean, great movie, great way of showcasing schizophrenia, but the way they romanticized not taking medication, that was not the right thing to do. I know I'm talking about a classic and a really good movie, but a lot of people then end up feeling that hey, we don't need medication, which is not true, right?
Right.
um, which is why I'm saying that the media needs to do research when filmmakers are making movies. The least that they can do is get a mental health practitioner to consult them, to advise them on the bits where they are showcasing therapy or they are showing sensitive information about any disorder, right?
That's very
So yes,
important.
yeah,
That's
they really need to research, get a mental health practitioner on board, when it comes to journalists as well, right? Before they go and ask any therapist questions, they can read up about what they're writing about, read about it, probably talk to the therapist and get some background work done, right? Inform yourself, educate yourself really well before you write an article,
correct.
right?
Right.
Yeah. The other thing I would say is that they need to be sensitive
Yeah.
towards depicting, portraying, or even writing about mental health issues. This is a very sensitive topic. It needs to be dealt with in that manner, right? Um, I mean, the whole romanticizing part that I spoke about, right? It's exactly related to this. Don't romanticize it too much, right? Therapy is, I wouldn't say very difficult, right? But it is a process that takes time, right? It is a process that can be hard on people, right?
Right.
It's not just sitting over there and having chai, coffee,
Huh.
and talking and venting out. That is not what it is.
Right.
Yeah,
This is what
um,
most people think it is. And
yeah,
this is exactly what media needs to show them, that there's a different side to what it actually is.
yeah.
So
It's
yeah.
not just somebody lying down on a couch and undergoing hypnosis or venting out their day-to-day angers or frustrations. And people end up coming with those expectations to a therapist then. कि यहाँ पे काउच होगा, हम लेट जाएंगे, हम चाय कॉफी पियेंगे, हम बीच पे चलेंगे. I've had other therapists, when a therapist tell me after Dear Zindagi was released that now my clients are asking me कि हम भी बाहर जाते हैं, साइकिल करते हैं. How is that going to work, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So research, of course, and be sensitive, be real about it, right? And also the other part of sensitivity, I would say, is don't um, make fun of the disorder, which is what happened in Atrangi. It was very insensitively done, right? Um, People who have mental health issues or disorders, they are not handicapped, they are not abnormal, and that's what therapy is also about, right? We don't use labels as practitioners, right?
Absolutely.
um, so why do that in the movie, or why do that through the work you're doing, through writing or otherwise, right?
Right.
Yeah, so be sensitive, educate yourself fully. Don't just um, make fun of the disorders or make fun of these issues. It's not funny.
Right.
It's absolutely not funny for the person who's suffering.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, that is another thing I would say. They need to be sensitive, they need to be empathetic as
Hmm.
well. Yeah. I mean, it would be great if a filmmaker actually goes, sits in some sessions, observes how the whole process works. I think that would help them build empathy as well.
Right.
So when you are, talking about these topics, at least try to, get to a point where you understand, the whole process and become empathetic yourself.
Right.
It's only when they start empathizing that, that will come out through their work, right? Um, and I think the last thing I would say is, instead of just delving into talking about a certain disorder, try to build awareness in this community. That is what is lacking. So
Right.
just going back to what you said about the responsibility of media, if through their work they can build awareness first,
Yeah.
instead of just picking up, topics that are trending, like, generational trauma pakad liya, yeah, schizophrenia pakad liya. That's not going to help the cause, right?
Right.
Yeah, help us build awareness first. That's what the society truly, truly needs. Show how therapy actually works, right? Yeah. Show how, what psychology is all about, right? Showcase to your work what mental health is all about. Then, they can go into talking about specific issues. But पहले ही तुम specifics में घुस रहे हो, how is it really going to help? Or at
Exactly.
least talk about surface level issues, right? A lot of people undergo stress. A lot of people, you know, have anxiety. So instead of just picking up these hardcore disorders because it is, juicy to portray in the movies, take up things that actually matter.
Right.
And awareness matters, addressing surface level issues is going to matter. I mean, I would love it if they stop thinking just about TRPs या हमारे कितने tickets बिकेंगे for a change, right?
I
Yeah,
feel they're making awareness, but it's not happening in the right way because even at some point their knowledge is limited. And even, as you said, if they could just read about it or have some observership done, it could actually make like a vast difference.
huge
That's
one,
right.
huge one. Yeah, yeah. And even while building awareness, ये masala डालना that needs to stop. Yeah, I mean, some of these movies would have been much better if they would have not romanticized it, or ये masala नहीं डाला होता. That the client is falling in love with the therapist, why? Just let's avoid all that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I feel the aim is not clear on why we've made the movie, and to stick to the theme that it needs to orient to. That's
Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
So, moving on to the next question, do you think there is a gap that the media can bridge when it comes to mental health awareness?
Absolutely. I think right now there is a massive gap, and talking specifically about the kind of content that is coming out in publications, right? There is a huge, huge gap over there. I mean, there are plenty of listicles floating around about 10 ways to deal with stress, 5 ways you can be mindful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
and
are
it
a
is
lot
just
of those floating around.
yeah,
There are a lot of them.
plenty, plenty. Quite a lot of them are not well researched as well, right? Plenty of them, from my experience, I know they are rewrites of, 10 other articles. They're just simple rewrites. There is, like I said, no in-depth research happening, which is why, this gap is still existing. Yeah. So when it comes to actually, picking up topics like, say, for example, stress or mindfulness, instead of going into, 10 ways you can be mindful, how about let's talk about what is mindfulness really, right? What there are so many myths floating around mindfulness. How did the whole mindfulness movement start? Who started it, right? How can it help? Who can it help? Right? There are so many people who it can't really help. Mindfulness किया तो हो गया मेरा, all my issues in life are going to be over. Doesn't really work that way, right?
Right.
So, just doing these listicles to get plenty of clicks, that's one thing. But if you actually research, if you write well-informed stories, that is going to go a long, long way in helping people,
Right.
right? So when it comes to the gap, I think this is a big gap that needs to be bridged, right? Um, yeah, people are just, I mean, the journals are just picking on trends. ये trend चल रहा है. I can see, SEO में देख लिया कि 10 ways to deal with stress. That is trending. I'm going to write about it again. अरे but इतना content है, right? और ये पढ़ के फिर भी लोग stressed है. So how are you aiding that right now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not educating on what the actual thing is, rather than everybody's just in a rush to fix their problems.
Yeah. And that is leading to another problem, right? People, instead of going to therapists, are going to these websites and they are like, okay, you know what, I'm going to self-educate, self-console, resolve my problems on my own.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's another problem that is being created, which can be helped if, the journalists actually do a bit of research, touch upon the broader topics first, and then also in the end, right, mention a line. This is the other gap that I was coming to. Mention a line that please seek help from a therapist, right? While you do all this, if in case your issues are more, please seek help from a therapist. Yeah.
Right. Lastly, just the last question will come to the end. If I may ask for your views on the way the media portrays and talks about mental health, basically.
We have a long way to go, especially Indian media. We have a long way to go, right? If I were to just assimilate everything I said, it points to exactly this. Yeah. While mental health has become a trend of sorts, right? Everybody wants to talk about it. There are celebrities talking about it. We have a lot of them actually coming up and saying that, hey, I had XYZ issue at a point of time. And while that is great, that also helps in building a bit of awareness. It helps people feel that if, say, Deepika Padukone can come out and say, I was depressed. I am not alone, and probably it's okay that I'm feeling this way. She sought therapy, therefore, it's okay if I seek therapy. That is great, and it helps to a point. But the media needs to further, nudge people, make them a bit more aware, probably get them to a point where they don't drop out of therapy, probably get them to a point where they feel okay accepting what problems they have and seek therapy actively, right? So we have a long way to go in the way media is dealing with all of this. I think we've just about started. This is just a starting point.
Yeah, it's actually since they have a power and they have that image that they have over the public, I feel they should use it rightly, and they should make utmost and resourceful use of this and make everybody aware of the correct facts and not just everything that they might have heard from XYZ place. So I think that's very important. That's right.
Yeah.
We have come to the end of the interview. It was lovely having you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot for your time.
No problem. Thanks a lot and all the best.